Okay, good afternoon and welcome to the Redbrick Sport Podcast 2017. We've got a new member with us today. So, new member, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Evan.
So, we've got Evan here today.
Liverpool fan.
Liverpool supporter, indeed. We've got Haydn as well, haven't we?
Yeah, hi, I'm Haydn. I'm a Wolves fan.
And we've got Alex.
I like football.
Alex loves football. He likes the Arsenal, if no one else. If you're a regular listener, then you will know that already. My name's Olli as well. As you probably know, I'm a Chelsea fan. So, we'll start off with the Saturday fixtures this week. Very few important ones. All, well, other than the televised games, they were all 1-0, disappointingly. But we'll start off with Liverpool's game against West Ham. Obviously, we've got Evan over there, Liverpool supporter. And Slaven Bilic has just been sacked. So, what did you make of the game? Did you see it?
I did see it. I would have been very annoyed watching that as a West Ham supporter because none of the players gave anything for the match. They had a 10-minute spell in which Lanzini did actually score, where they sort of picked themselves up a bit. But apart from that, dreadful performance from West Ham.
It seems to be a recurrent theme that certainly, I know I've mentioned it before, it just looks like West Ham are completely devoid of kind of motivation. So
I don't think the players want to play on the Bilic anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the main issue. I think we've seen it at teams like Leicester when it happened under Ranieri. They just stopped playing for him, and I think they will, if it is David Moyes who takes charge, I think they will have a resurgence and play a lot better.
Do you actually think they'll have a resurgence under Moyes?
I think they've got to. They can't play worse than what they did.
I just see him as probably the least inspiring man in the world.
I just don't. They cannot play worse than what they did.
True, yeah. I mean, the game was sort of, it did resemble like a pre-season friendly. I think the commentator said it about 30 minutes in. It's quite rare for a commentator on was it Sky Match? BT, yeah. So like they usually try not to do down their own games, but he had no option but to.
Liverpool won that game before it kicked off.
Yeah, I agree with that.
There's no doubt about that. West Ham didn't win it. We didn't play well at all. We had the odd spell where we played okay. We scored a counter attack, which every Liverpool fan dreams of, seeing Mane and Salah running down and scoring a goal like that. A lucky goal from a corner. It was not a great performance for Liverpool. We were just helped by the fact of how bad West Ham were.
Certainly the scoreline compliments you in that sense. So.
Yes.
So West Ham are, well, they're on 9 points. They're 17th in the table. They're not even in the relegation zone. But Everton on 8 have a game in hand above them. Other than David Moyes, does anyone see anyone else replacing Bilic?
I think the board have kind of said that it is Moyes, though, haven't they? Like through the back channels, there's basically a consensus that Moyes is the option.
Well, the board have said that Bilic has their support previously. So
yeah. I mean, they're not the most sensible characters ever. Moyes is only getting a 6-month contract. I think that says a lot about their intentions for him. I think he's just there to try and steady the ship.
It's very much a placeholder.
Yeah, not to get relegated. But
much like Rafa Benitez did at Chelsea a few years back.
Yeah.
Just maintain the balance.
Rafa did a very good job at Chelsea as well.
He did.
They hated him, and he literally did he basically did better than Mourinho did at United last season.
Yeah.
With Chelsea, but Chelsea fans hounded him out. Mourinho's now treated as a legend.
I think Chelsea fans, speaking from my own perspective, the majority of the fan base disliked Benitez prior to him coming because of things that he had said about us in the past. Okay. So to then end up with that as manager.
He goes back to Luis Garcia's ghost goal against
Chelsea.
So
the 2004-2005 Champions League campaign kind of set the precedent for what Chelsea fans thought of Benitez. Yeah. But at the end of the day, he won trophies for us. I think he definitely divided opinion. He was like there wasn't a kind of a unified response to him. I think it was a little bit mixed. Like, I wouldn't say you either love him or you hate him because I don't think many people loved him. But he won us the Europa League and steadied the ship. It was a little bit harsh on Di Matteo, I think, but we won't talk about that now.
Let's hope that Moyes does the same for West Ham because they need it.
Wins them the Europa League.
Maybe not win the Europa League, but they need someone to maintain the balance there because they're a good football team and they've got a long history. They've got a good squad this year. They've spent a lot of money on it. maybe Bilic wasn't the man to carry them through this season.
I think it'd definitely be disappointing to see him go down.
I think so.
They're such a kind of stalwart of the Premier League,
Yeah.
if you could use that word. But anyway, we'll go on to Sunday's fixtures if anyone has no more
Are
comments
we not going
on
to talk about some of the other games on Saturday?
Huddersfield
There's
1,
some
West
cracking
Brom 0,
fixtures. Well, I mean,
Newcastle 0, Bournemouth 1.
I'm
Southampton
personally, I'm
0,
looking forward to the return
Everton
fixture of Huddersfield West Brom.
The Huddersfield West Brom game, it
yeah,
should be
should
an
be a
entertaining
cracker.
one up at the Hawthorns.
23rd of February.
I was going to say 23rd or 24th.
Mhm.
23rd of February.
Yeah, there's not really
Excuse
too much to say about the other games.
You can say that Burnley is carrying on.
Yeah, Burnley, and it looks like Dyche is going to stay for the time being, which he should do. He just needs to do it because he could really if he gets Burnley to 8th this season, that's such an achievement because Burnley are probably the most unfashionable club in the Premier League by some distance. Even I would say that because of David Wagner, Huddersfield are now more fashionable.
They don't have anything marketable about them. There's
Not really.
A single player in their squad.
No, exactly.
But it's not like they're underdogs. It's not like they're newbies. It's not like
No, they just no one really
Bournemouth are
cares.
15th in the table, sort of go unnoticed.
Yeah, which is I think why people will probably sort of perhaps look at them now as they could almost go full circle and become quite an indie team because they're just based on hard work,
fashionable based.
Yeah, because it's reverting to old principles of football.
Quite like QPR when they're in the Premier League.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that.
No one feared going to QPR. No one feared them coming to you.
Yeah,
But you did respect them.
But they still managed to kind of pull out some results because Burnley, they're 19 points at the moment, 4 clear of Brighton, who are next place in 8th. Admittedly, Watford do have a game in hand on 15 points level with Brighton, but it's looking rosy for them at the moment. Do you think they'll finish anywhere other than kind of in and around that
this is Burnley.
area? Or, yeah,
I can see him finishing mid-table comfortably as long as Dyche stays. If Dyche stays, unless he sort of goes at Christmas and they're already up at 37 points or whatever, then I don't see them getting relegated for sure.
but don't see them finishing anywhere higher.
Not really.
Challenges.
No, but they score lucky goals, don't they? They always just sort of seem to win 1-0. Never really sort of run away with the game. Yeah,
It was Sam Vokes in the
87th
87th minute.
minute.
and that's just the
I
way.
think that's something we'll see a lot throughout the season.
And Chris Wood.
Yeah, Chris Wood. God, he's not a good footballer.
You saw that
really
video
isn't.
of him.
Yeah, he just isn't I mean, I have a mate who's a Leeds fan. Shout out Ben if you're listening. And he laughed when Wood went because it was just you were getting 16 million for a player who basically would never be good enough for the Premier League. He might be good in Burnley's team, but I doubt he'd be good anywhere else, to be honest.
But doesn't that depend on, you say they always seem to win 1-0. Does that not depend on how you kind of look at it? That in a game against Southampton
That's a good result.
They're not by any stretch kind of poor side. So
They're quite dull this season, Southampton.
yeah, they're not great. They're not going to excite anyone. But at the end of the day, it's still for Burnley. It's decent to have gone there and grabbed out a result.
Yeah, fair
And
play
then
to them.
got the result got the goal in the last 10 minutes when not a whole lot looked on for them. So surely, if you're a Burnley supporter, you can be looking at it kind of glass half full.
Oh, definitely. You'd be foolish to look at it any other way. No Burnley fan expects them to be going out total football style, beating teams 3 or 4-0.
No, of
that's
course.
just not the way.
You said to a Burnley fan at the beginning of the season that 11 games in, you're going to be 11 points at Liverpool and Arsenal.
And Chelsea.
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
Well, very good. You mentioned Huddersfield briefly there. 1-0 against West Brom at home.
Yeah, it was a good goal. It's the only real thing you can say about that game. And West Brom's, I don't know if it's their 3rd kit, but it's absolutely atrocious. It's I don't know what colour of green it is. I'll just describe it. Yeah, it that kind of green, in the spectrum of colour green, epitomises West Brom. Dull, unentertaining, and a bit ugly. Yeah. It's
white shorts that go with it.
This is the one here.
Yeah, it's just I find it quite offensive as a green, to be honest. Don't know if you agree.
Well, it's quite
Not really good for an audio podcast, is it?
No, that's true.
I'm not a fan of the Juventus green.
No, it's a bit dodgy.
Hard to pull off green then.
Yeah, I will agree with that.
Norwich didn't use.
Yeah, I don't know. I like Norwich's green. It's like it's out there, isn't it?
Oh, well, I'm just not a fan of Norwich's kits. Like, I don't think they've ever produced an aesthetically pleasing kit in my eyes.
Well,
Other than potentially some of their goalie shirts. But.
yeah, there are some good ones in the '90s, but we'll leave that. For now.
That's a long way. It's a long way going back.
Okay.
Who?
Plymouth Argyle.
Plymouth Argyle.
That isn't too
They
bad.
pull off green.
Yeah, they're like a royal green.
Yeah.
I feel like we've given green way too much airtime. We've been talking about the colour green for a
Oh
minute.
no, it's not.
Is this the one you're talking about?
It's not nice.
Can't say I agree with that one if I'm honest.
You agreed with that.
Ah, I see what you did there. Very good.
Ginsters, brilliant sponsor.
Is it
Yeah.
that? Well,
It's insane.
the fella that is modelling it looks very much like Harry Judd from McFly.
It is.
Is that not him?
It does look like.
Is that not him? I don't know. It might be.
Yeah, it's him.
Is it?
Go on visit the site.
Sorry to listeners who can't observe what we're looking at the moment, but if you go onto the Plymouth Argyle website, sponsored by Ginsters of Cornwall, then you can have a look.
That just is him, isn't it? That is him. I'm not having that's anyone else. That's not a footballer. Anyway.
Sorry about this. We are just checking whether it is Harry Judd indeed who is modelling Plymouth Argyle's kit.
Did anyone think Brighton played well this weekend? Did you see the goal? We saw the goal before.
The goal was incredible.
It was it was probably the most Glenn Murray goal ever. I literally just kneed it. Did he knee it in?
I don't even think he knew the ball was coming.
No, it just like fell off his body into the goal. I'm still sceptical about Brighton. I don't know how you can get away with playing a 37-year-old right back, however old he is, that Bruno guy. I just find it odd that the way they're playing is sustainable in the Premier League, but
Really, I've never watched a Brighton game and thought there's quality on the pitch.
no. Well, I said a few weeks ago, for me, when Arsenal played Brighton, it was like an FA Cup match rather than a Premier League match because they just weren't good enough. But
I don't think they've adapted well to the Premier League.
they've got 15
But
points, so it's like
They're on 8th.
yeah, so it's fair play. But
Again, I mean, the same as Burnley. I would have thought if you're a Brighton fan, you would have bitten someone's hand off
I'd be
and said,
very, very surprised to see this kept up.
yeah,
to
me too.
continue until the end of the season.
I just don't think their overall quality's there. They've made a few good signings, like Izquierdo, Proper, and Pascal Gross. Like they're good players, but they're not. They're very like out there signings. Really, they're not like sort of revelations. They're just sort of fitted in quite nicely.
Did you know that since the start of last season, Harry Kane is the only English player to have scored more goals in the top 2 tiers of English football than Glenn Murray?
Jesus,
Is he actually?
Yeah.
It's a wonderful statistic
That is
from
fantastic.
Haydn there.
that's one thing you've got to give him, that he does score a lot of goals. But that does not mean he should be in the England squad. So,
Right.
yes,
Kevin Davis scored a lot of goals for the England squad.
Kevin Davis. He's become manager of someone recently, like last week. I think it's like Altrincham or something.
It says a little bit about, Brighton more so, but another statistic that last time Brighton and Swansea met in a league match, Swansea were winning the League One title with a victory over Brighton at
What year
what
was
was
that?
Brighton's old ground in 2008. So not
The
actually
Withdean.
that long ago. Withdean.
The Withdean, yeah. Well, I'm
Before-
sure Bournemouth.
before the annex.
I'm sure Bournemouth were in League One as well at that
I think
point.
that says
Well,
a lot
yeah.
about both
Yeah.
teams.
But if you look at Bournemouth at 16th, then it's more of a kind of success story than Brighton at anywhere near 8th.
Well, they've got like a sound business plan, and that revolves around the new stadium because it's the 30k seater, which is pretty decent, and by all accounts, it's a very nice stadium.
Have you been to it?
No, I'm not gonna trek all that way down to Brighton just to watch them.
It does look like a good ground. I can't say I've been, but
I've been to it. I've not been to a game though. I've just been to the stadium. It's very nice.
we've been like inside and
No. For Sussex Uni Open Days, you have to park outside.
Fair enough.
Outside the annex, yeah. but it's got big splits in the sides, so you can see inside the stadium, and it is nice. Like, you wouldn't have thought maybe you could write a table at a stadium like that.
I would be interested to see the kind of for like a big game at Brighton. Like, I don't know what the Brighton supporters fan base. If any Brighton fans are listening, then feel free to get in touch. Will they consider a big game like Bournemouth or Southampton, South Coast?
Yeah,
Derby,
so that is a problem for them, isn't it? Like I know, like in the past, their derby's been like Crystal Palace, which is that in my brain that doesn't compute because
there's not a huge number of teams, especially on the South East Coast where
it's like.
I'd like to see what like gets their kind of fan base going, like and actually like creates an atmosphere.
And big like category A matches, Liverpool, Arsenal's.
But I also feel like I wouldn't say them straight away because it's almost like Alex says with the kind of FA Cup atmosphere. It's like they're going there.
Maybe I'm doing them a disservice. But
you almost do get the kind of perspective that if like your Chelsea's, your Cities, then their fan base, because it's surreal to them, they're there for the game against the big side.
They're there to see the Brighton players. They're not there to watch Brighton.
I know it's a little bit arrogant coming from a Chelsea fan, but like you kind of hear like the bigger teams think you're only here for the Chelsea, Arsenal, blah blah blah. But no, I'd be interested to see again how they keep that up against more of the big teams. Newcastle, Bournemouth, anyone?
Well, Newcastle basically have dropped, for me, they've dropped 6 points. Like, they should have won both games. It's going to be a long season for them. The squad on paper shouldn't stay up. I've said this in the past. That's definitely a championship squad. It doesn't really have any quality apart from a few players like Shelvey and Marino. And maybe like Atsu on his day. The Cells is okay, I suppose, but they'll stay up because of Rafa Benitez if he stays, and that'll be the single reason why.
They're going to get a lot of Benitez style points. They got it against Liverpool. They knew Liverpool had one main weakness and they exploited it once and got their goal to get a 1-1 draw. And they'll do that throughout the season against the bigger teams.
I mean, arguably unlucky to concede in the 92nd minute, but then again, if you're conceding against Bournemouth, then do you not deserve that? You don't see Dwight Gay as a prospect.
There's a goal from a corner as well, wasn't it? So they maybe just need to work on their set pieces.
They've been good on set pieces for most of the season, and attacking them they've been really good. But they just. I mean, there's the talk of the takeover bid, and that hopefully should go through before January. I don't know if they'll get the money before then, but the only way that they're going to be any higher up than 10th really is if they go out and buy like 5 players who are really good in January, but I don't think they will.
Good number 9.
Yeah, their lack of strikers. It's weird because they pulled out of a deal to get Tammy Abraham, and he would have been, like looking at it now, like Hosselu, maybe he scored like 3 Premier League goals, but he's not really a fantastic player. He's just very lucky with the goals he scores, and Abraham seems to sort of make his own goals. So I would have liked to see him in that Newcastle side.
I rate Tammy Abraham. I think he would have done well at Newcastle, but obviously now he's at Swansea. He's not automatically the first choice. I
think it says a lot about him that his first appearance in professional football was in the Championship. Like a lot of Chelsea loan players either get the Vitesse treatment or they get a random League Two club and then they get released after that period. And Abraham, straight when he's 18, straight to Bristol City, scores like 23 league goals, and then in the Premier League, he's got a good pedigree already. And scoring goals in the Championship isn't easy, and he's done it.
And Abraham, joint with Glenn Murray, only Kane scored more.
Yeah, there you go. So maybe, he does deserve an England goal. He's got one now. So
back to your test point, I think that's ruining football.
Yeah, well, I've said a lot about that.
Because I hate the Vitesse loan system with Chelsea.
The thing is, the problem is that the FA can't step in and tell Chelsea what to do.
No, of course.
And until the FA are like A, reformed, and B, a power above the Premier League and all the sort of the federations that work in British football, we won't really have a way of dealing with it unless the football club decides to go against its best interests. because it is in their best interest to hoard players. Like at the end of the day, they don't really care whether they're basically the football equivalent of a landlord. So what they're doing is they're keeping economic units until they create value, and then making the most of them when they reach their peak.
It's strange that Vitesse are so willing to do it as well, because it stops them developing their own talent. To stop them from growing, they're basically just they're Chelsea's academy almost.
Yeah, well,
they almost don't have the capability to, they're not a big enough club to have kind of a big academy in the same way that Ajax do, the same way that, I don't know.
They haven't got a bad youth team, Vitesse. They've got a few decent players. They've got one guy called Van Bergen, who I'm sure you will see gracing your screens in the near future.
Probably.
He looks pretty good.
They've got a good academy, they'll leave that academy.
Just go.
The Ajax academy is world renowned.
Yeah, it's
that is what you dream of growing up.
It's like the hierarchy within that nation as well. So
coming through the Ajax academy is a big deal. You see it you have. So if you had any chance to get near that academy, you'd take it.
What I will say in defence of the Chelsea system.
Can you defend it? From a football purist point of view, there's no way you can.
No, I'm not saying from a football purist point of view, but kind of at the same time as moving on to the fixtures from Sunday. After the game on Sunday, Conte was quick to highlight the likes of Ethan Ampadu, like Kyle Scott, Jake Clarkson.
Kyle Scott is never going to play consistently for Chelsea, and you well know it.
But Conte does have it on his mind, and he's saying that they are the future of Chelsea.
Fair enough.
So,
but
I'm saying from a Chelsea point of view, that is positive to hear that at least those players are.
He has to say that.
Yeah.
Because there's so much criticism around Chelsea that the youth team doesn't get brought into the first team enough that he's got to say something like that. It's a very political answer.
Yes.
Well, I think
politically motivated answer.
Obviously, I'm playing devil's advocate here, but he could have talked about signings, whether that would go against the board or not.
But he won't be there in 5 years, so it basically doesn't matter what he says.
True.
It matters what the club says.
He isn't going to be dictating the long term.
He's not going to be remembered for bringing a few young players into the squad. He's going to be remembered for his Premier League victory last year.
And that's the problem.
He doesn't have a long term project at Chelsea.
Oh no, I think
it's very different to when, say, Ferguson took over United 30 odd years ago, where he saw United as a long-term project, and that his actions then would have consequences in 5 or 10 years. I don't think you're going to see that in football anymore.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Chelsea, historically, are not a long-term manager club. So, in that sense, it's what Abramovich thinks. It's what the board think in terms of the youth setup.
I can't wait till Abramovich just leaves Chelsea and Chelsea rot to the bottom of English football.
They're too big of a club now. I think.
Yeah, it's annoying, isn't it? Yeah, it's like they've built it up. Because I was thinking about this. I was thinking, if Abramovich leaves Chelsea, theoretically, how low can they go? And really, they can only become like a mid-table team. That's just,
even if he was to leave them, some people buy them.
Who knows?
I think as an establishment, much as I wouldn't like to say we're kind of indispensable. It is almost because it's a big business.
Yeah.
Chelsea as a
well, someone could pick it up, but
you're not going to get a David Gold buying Chelsea. You can have someone much bigger, financial stature than that.
But someone who wants to be
Does Chelsea make profit?
I couldn't comment on the.
I don't think it does.
We definitely conform to FFP at the moment.
Yeah, but whether you make profit, I'm just questioning whether another business.
I think so.
Could be bothered to pick it up.
I'm not in. As I say, I'm not
buying
entirely
a football
sure.
club is a vanity project, and it's all about status. So it'd only be for that someone would buy Chelsea. Really, not actually trying to make money out of them, unless they were going to strip their assets. But I doubt that you'd be able to do that. Anyway, we'll move on.
Alex wants to move on. Well, talking about Chelsea, big win yesterday, turnaround from the midweek game against Roma. What do you think that says about where Chelsea stand in the title race and where United stand in their position against the big teams?
I don't think there's a title race for Chelsea. I think there's a race for top four. I think United have a title race.
Mm-hmm.
But
Don't think. Well,
do you not think?
I just think
unless you see City as home and hose already, but
until Pogba comes back, I don't see United being in the title race because they're just like I said this to you before. They're just an expensive Newcastle at the moment. That's the way they're playing.
It was like that fella. I saw an excerpt from like an interview on like 5 Live or something. He said, "Oh, we're just like a rich West Brom."
Yeah,
So,
like they're playing a counter-attacking style with players that want to express themselves. And I think a lot of the time, like fair enough, you know, like all these like United fans that said when they drew away at Liverpool that was a really good result and that's the result that will win us a title. Fair enough, but then you lose away to Huddersfield the next week. So is that the result that loses you the title? Like you can't if you can only justify like draws like that at the end of the season. And I just think United fans big up Mourinho way too much. Be realistic about what he's achieved. You didn't get top 4. He got you into the Champions League, fair enough, but you should have won the Europa League anyway. And I just do think that I think they're looking at the legend of Mourinho and believing the hype a bit too much.
right.
I am massively biased against United, so I'll accept that right now. But I do think that they're just sort of. I would even say they're in a transition phase. They're just sort of waiting for another great manager to come in.
So, what do you think the problem with United is?
Mourinho's
Is it
style of play.
that they're too like reliant on not Pogba, but maybe players who have been bigged up before their longevity has been proven? Maybe is that the issue, or is it
I don't
that
know.
now
Maybe
they're going to struggle to hold down a solid
maybe it's
manager?
the sort of like most of the core of the Ferguson squad is gone now. You really only have like Valencia and Young. I suppose you can count Smalling and Jones, but they weren't really sort of integral in that team. You've got Carrick still knocking about there, but most of United's players are players that they're just sort of players that they've bought in from somewhere in Europe or they've come through the academy or something. But I just think the identity isn't there, and it's not how United want to be playing. If you ask United fans, like fair enough drawing away at Liverpool, but if you lose the next week, then it isn't that good. And I just think that they need to look at how they played under Ferguson, and that's what United fans still crave, in my opinion. But yeah.
Well, any other thoughts?
I'd say something when Man United's plan B is Marouane Fellaini.
Yeah, that's basically what I mean in a nutshell. So you sum that up pretty well.
I mean, compared to Liverpool, like, do you think there's obviously a difference in where you are on the table, but realistically speaking,
I think United's defensive line is better. I think that makes a massive difference, especially in the Premier League, because it's a tough league. You give away any mistake, it's likely to be capitalised on. We give away a lot. United aren't going to give away as many. Going forward, I really don't think they're anywhere near as good as us. I think Lukaku's had a quiet couple of weeks, and I think he's going to be found out very soon. He's not a £90 million striker. He's an Everton striker.
That's scathing. I'm inclined to agree, but we'll see. We'll see everything.
I think he's a better striker than Everton than suits Everton at the moment, but
yes.
Yeah, maybe
I
not.
couldn't agree more with that. Yeah, last season's Everton with Lukaku in it.
Yeah,
he's too good for an Everton in the relegation zone.
No, definitely.
I don't see too many differences between, dare I say it, him and the Christian Benteke a few years ago.
Oh, that's
I wish
an
Harry
interesting
Wilkinson
one.
was here right now.
Yeah.
The Benteke fanboy. But,
Yeah. I don't see too many dissimilarities between the two of them.
Yeah. Okay.
They both get goals, never really in the big games, which is what you pay all your money for. I think United could have paid 40 million for a striker and had someone who gave them the same goals to game ratio as Lukaku does, give them the same quality.
I mean, he was fairly anonymous yesterday. There was the first kind of 5 or 10 minutes when the game was pretty open. But in the second half, when United needed him,
he's been anonymous for about a month.
he just wasn't there at all. So
wouldn't know if he played or not since the Liverpool game, where he was.
That's a very good point.
He was shut out of the game then, and he's not come back since.
provided an assist in the Huddersfield game, but they still lost it, arguably.
Yeah.
So, well, we'll move on from Manchester United's failings. Manchester City, Arsenal, obviously close to your heart, Alex. City still steamrolling all comers to the Etihad.
I wouldn't say it was a steamrolling sort of performance. City's final ball was pretty bad all day, I would have said. Arsenal basically are just a worse version of Man City. It's simple.
That's a big statement.
No, they are. Well, they are. Like the style of play is about dominating the ball. The means to do it is different, but fundamentally the way City win games is the same as the way Arsenal win games. They just pass teams to death and use their wide players to sort of create and score. But City are just unstoppable. They didn't really have to get above sort of gear 3 to win that game. And it just was inevitable, wasn't it? Like I did a fan preview for this game with a City fan, and I said, there's no way Arsenal can win this match. I think they probably could have got a draw if they set up to sort of literally go for a 0-0, but that's not very inspiring, really, is it? Yeah, that's all I've really got to say on it. I mean, you could argue one of the City's third goal was offside at a time when Arsenal probably could have got back into the match, and they had a period of like 5 or 10 minutes where they were on top. But apart from that, it's just another expected performance basically, and I think it shows when you're not sort of expecting Arsenal to win, you're just expecting the defeat, where we've come to now as a club.
Even with kind of Lacazette?
Doesn't matter, does it? We're not like, it doesn't matter if you spend £50 million on a striker if you're not going to start him. And I don't disagree with maybe playing Alexis in a game where you have a defensive game plan as a striker. But I just think that our standards have slipped, and I don't think it's wholly because of the players. I think it's like a structural issue with Arsenal, and it probably won't get addressed really until either the ownership changes or we bring in a new manager. So.
It was your AGM recently, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was certainly, because I can't remember who exactly walked out, but one of the majority, well, not one of the majority shareholders, but one of the kind of big players, one of like Kroenke or Usmanov.
Probably would have been
walked
Usmanov.
out. I think it was they walked out of the press conference before a lot of questions had been answered. So.
Yeah, Kroenke's known for his sort of his lack of how do I put it? He's not really a football man. Right. He's not really a sportsman. He's just sort of like he owns a team in the I think it's an American football team, and they used to be quite good, and now they're pretty average. So
because he's also given a position to his son. Am I right?
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that he was a bit of nepotism.
Has an important role in Arsenal.
Yeah, at the AGM he said that Wenger was doing a great job. I think it probably epitomises what his priorities are, and they're mostly.
It's a little bit much, isn't it?
He's probably quite disconnected from football.
Yeah, he doesn't. I don't think he understands it, but
if you've got the right numbers going, if you see that you've got a manager and your team's profiting, you're probably thinking, he's doing a good job.
Yeah. Probably profiting because your team are asking so much from their fans to follow them, arguably.
Yeah.
But they're doing football from a balance sheet, and that's the wrong way to do it.
And Wenger's done that ever since he's been at Arsenal.
Yeah.
Even when you had the Emirates being built back, it was a huge chunk of money for Arsenal to pay, and that's why you didn't really see any signings for a good few years. Any big names until Mikel Arteta maybe was the
That
one.
deadline day, mate. That was
That deadline
beautiful.
day. It was
Yossi Benayoun.
Arteta, Cazorla,
Mertesacker, and then
that infamous deadline day when they actually shelled out a bit of money because they were panicking.
yeah,
And to be fair, they're all still there.
yeah, exactly. You look
Apart
at
from Arteta on City's coaching.
Yeah. But like you look at, I was thinking about this the other day. You look at like some of the absolute dross that we've had in the Arsenal team, and still got top four.
Yeah.
The Premier League simply is just like a sort of an arms race where because like our team probably now would beat every team we've had for the last 10 years, like on paper I'd say.
Yeah, since Henri Bergkamp.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got the best.
And if you like in some hypothetical world, if you match those two teams up, our team now absolutely smash most of the teams we've had.
Yeah.
Yeah, those teams manage to consistently finish top four, and this team can't. And I think it just is that the Premier League, the stakes are so high. All the teams, sort of top six, have great players, but it doesn't. It's just basically down to luck and sort of quality on the day, really. That is sort of the determining factor. And yeah, I don't really think we're not up to it because we don't spend enough, basically. But there we go.
We spent big over the last 4 or 5 summers.
we
We
have-
have one big player each year. So.
I mean, I don't think you count Czech as a big player. For me, Czech's not very good, but
Anymore.
Lacazette this year.
We'll say.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
He's
true.
not.
Mustafi for big money last year.
yeah, but
Xhaka, Sanchez, Ozil. These are all big
yeah,
players, big
they
money.
are. They are. But you look at Xhaka, Mustafi, and possibly Lacazette. You could say is sort of not a success yet, but
Do you think
It
that's
doesn't
a
do it.
success?
depends how you
Because I
sort
would
of
say it's
how you qualify success. I would say as a sort of the way he plays, he's been a success mostly. Yeah, he's not suited to the English game really. I mean, like even like most of the sort of
That's it, yeah, he's made the best of a bad situation for
Yeah.
himself.
I mean, look how good he was in Spain. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
He is probably the best attacking midfielder in the world on his
Look at
day.
his 2010 World Cup.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes.
That's all you need. And like he is, for me, is that like obviously De Bruyne maybe he's taking a claim now, but he is the best passer of the ball over short distances. His vision is like unrivaled, I'd say. But yeah, it's just quite a sort of. I mean, it's not the worst situation to be in. We'll probably still get top six, and
Difficult for Ozil when he's in the midfield with Xhaka and Elmané as well.
yeah,
He's not surrounded by quality. He really
No.
is.
Xhaka is the most infuriating footballer because he can be really good, but only in like sort of 40-minute spells, which is
Yeah, no,
unfortunate for him.
So genuine out of Liverpool.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for the day that he takes a game by the scruff of his neck and is the best player on the pitch because I know he can be.
Because he's turned up with a few goals recently, hasn't he? Like,
He had 10 minutes in that Arsenal game where we beat him 4-0 where he was incredibly good. But then just nothing, he's not really done it. He's still not scored away.
okay, right.
So Genuine has only scored home goals for Liverpool.
he's not scored an away goal ever then because he didn't score any for Newcastle.
Oh, there we go.
He scored 14 at home to Newcastle.
It's a good stat. I think
Okay.
he must be nearing double figures now for Liverpool.
Yeah.
And all of them at home.
Mm.
Strange.
But it's the Arsenal. So.
They kind of, well, I don't know, certainly from the ones that stick out in my mind.
He's got
They're-
important
they're
goals.
almost-
City, Chelsea.
Yeah, but most of them have been kind of when they're home and host, as it were, for Wijnaldum as a player.
I disagree. He got a very important goal against Middlesbrough on the last day of the season last year to secure top four. He got the first goal in that game, which got us started. He got a winner against. Was it Chelsea he got the winner against, or was it City? It was one of the two. Around. Could have been City. I think it was around the turn of the year.
Well, I mean, yeah, like, I'm happy to be proven
Yeah.
wrong. Obviously,
Yeah.
I'm not a Liverpool supporter, but
But yeah, well, I'm still waiting for him to take a game and.
yeah,
prove
he
himself.
hasn't. He hasn't had like.
But this is about Arsenal and Xhaka. I don't know what I've got to do with Wijnaldum.
Well, it's about anything.
Yeah.
About anything you want it to be about. Having said that, about kind of Arsenal and Man U, we'll move on to the opposite end of the table with Everton. They came back from 2-0 down against Watford to win 3-2. And although Cleverley missed a penalty in injury time, a lot of injury time there was because of the injury to Gomez. Unsworth has his first win.
Nias scoring again.
I know.
Wonderful, my best friend, Umar Nias.
Alex loves Umar Nias because of the poetic quality.
And he was very good for Lokomotiv Moscow on FIFA 15.
Okay, right.
Heads up if you want to go back and play with him. 91 acceleration, but 76 sprint speed. Quite a strange disparity. No, it was really good.
It's like Coutinho this year.
Yeah, it was very good. Anyway.
So it needs until realistically around the kind of halfway line to properly get motoring if he starts like around the edge of the
It was very good, but this is not about FIFA. So Everton, they kind of like, I wasn't expecting that. I was really like happy that they were losing because I don't really like Everton too much, to be honest.
Well, I mean, Martin Tyler kind of said it with a defeatist tone when he was kind of, and more upset for Everton, yet more misery.
It does feel like that though, doesn't it? Like it's just game after game where they don't inspire or create anything of substance. But
I think this is the worst Everton team for a number of years.
Which is quite ironic considering how much they spent.
They've spent a crazy amount of money.
It is
horrible amount of money to be turning out some of the results that they have been.
I think
not on bad players either. Like Klassen, when he played in the Dutch League, wasn't a bad player.
But that is in the Dutch League. Alfonso Alves scored 38 league goals and then came to Middlesbrough and was probably like one of the worst Premier League signings. But you could probably put this win for Everton down to Watford's replacement goalkeeper. On the goals, on the second, I think it's the second Everton goal. He runs out like an absolute madman, and he's just there like flapping at the ball. And it's not how goalkeepers usually keep their goals.
Something you'll be proud of.
Yeah. It was very strange. I mean, he's decently rated. Like he's not like the worst keeper ever, but he just seemed like he'd sort of never played a game in the Premier League or never even seen a game in the Premier League. It's just he acted very strangely. So I think probably, obviously Watford still could have got the draw. It was just down to a bad penalty by Cleverley that they didn't. And this is an incredibly lucky turning point for them, I would say.
Yeah. I think it's what you said earlier about luck of the day in the Premier League. You need, if you want to get points,
it is.
You need to have that luck on match days, and they did.
Yeah, they had loads of it. Yeah.
I mean, for Watford to hit the bar, get a penalty from that, and then miss the penalty is pretty much as lucky as it gets. You can't even write that.
Yeah. That's what I think. I don't like the kind of. I think if you're a manager or a team that comes out at the end of the game and says and kind of justifies your performance with, but we could have done well. Like it's good going forward because we could have done well had we scored the penalty or had we had a penalty. I don't think that's an acceptable way of carrying on for any team to operate. Let alone kind of Watford. Like I know they're outperforming expectations this season.
I don't think Watford have got problems at the moment. I think it was just one game where they should have done better.
Yeah.
But every team's going to have that.
Yeah, I think if you see the performances they put in against Chelsea.
And they've made good signs as well.
And Richarlison is definitely proving his worth at the moment.
Andre Gray has played well.
Only scored one goal though.
What, Andre Gray?
There you go, yeah. Surprising, isn't it? But yeah, they've done very well. I'm impressed with them. I think Marco Silva just is a much better manager than everyone thought he was, and that is the reason why they're doing that well. To be honest,
I still don't think people expect it Watford either.
No.
To come to their ground and be good.
Yeah,
people are still viewing Watford as like a relegation battle team, which they're not at the moment. I think the bigger teams need to wise up to that. Liverpool needed to in the first half of the season, never did.
I think they probably do have a kind of similar maybe like not style, but you were saying about the whole kind of it's unfashionable to support Burnley, or Burnley are not a fashionable club. I think they've arguably got some of that about them.
Well, yeah, it's like the whole they're very close to London, but not quite in London.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're just it's just a town, isn't it? Watford, Hampshire. It's not the most.
No one dreams of going to watch Watford play.
No.
I grew up as a kid with a Watford shirt.
But that's working in their favour at the moment. So
I think you've got to have kind of an association to them, certainly. Maybe like your grandparents, your parents have got to have been in that Watford line. You're not automatically drawn to them. I mean, I saw some of the coverage of the Premier League Live. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's a kind of concept that they've used in the Premier League to take their fan parks over to India and the Far East, where the Premier League has a big following. And I don't know why it surprised me, but I didn't expect there to be a massive following of Brighton supporters, for example. It seemed a kind of bizarre concept to me that maybe a lot of people over there who didn't necessarily have a connection to, for example, Brighton, found that an entertaining prospect to propose. But we will take a break there and then continue in a moment. Okay, we're back after that short break, and we're going to be discussing a little bit about Tottenham and their win against Crystal Palace, 1-0 at home at Wembley. Evan, I know you said something earlier about their Tottenham curse at Wembley. What are your kind of opinions on those?
I think you've got to be beating. They're going to beat Palace no matter what sort of curse they've got, because this is a bad Palace side that we're seeing at the moment. But I think a 1-0 win against Palace is you'd hope for better as a Tottenham fan, I think. And I don't think it was a very awe-inspiring performance at all. Son scored a good goal, as he does. Now the highest scoring agent in the Premier League is Indeed. That's a nice stat for him, I suppose.
But I guess it's kind of very run of the mill.
As stats go. Yeah.
But I just meant in terms of the victory rather than Son. But
yeah, it's
anything to be said for fatigue from Wednesday evening? Or
I'm not a big believer in fatigue from Champions League.
Well, it doesn't matter, does it? They won the game, so
yeah.
Whether they win 1-0 or not, Kane went off, didn't he? So that probably played a part in it being a relatively low-scoring game. So yeah, I don't think it's really that interesting, to be honest.
No.
It's just it's like a regulation sort of win for Spurs.
Looking ahead to the international break now, England play Germany and Brazil in admittedly friendlies, but a few kind of younger call-ups definitely. So I think it's Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Tammy Abraham and
Joe Gomez. Joe Gomez and Abraham, I'd say, deserve it. I don't know why Loftus-Cheek's in there.
No, I don't really understand that.
I mean, I'm all for giving you your chance, but
it's just Gareth Southgate trying to make a statement, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I guess they have nothing to lose, so
True.
to blood the youngsters, as it were, against those kind of teams.
Yeah, it's just a nice day for them, isn't it? It's a big day.
Yeah.
As a young player to play rugby for the first time.
Yeah, like when you kind of get your name on the England shirt for the first time, and certainly it'll be an experience for them, but little more than that, because they're probably not going to be playing against the full first teams of Germany and Brazil, are they? So.
No, I don't think they're going to be playing against Neymar and Co.
No, exactly.
And if they are, it's likely to be Joe Gomez that goes up against Neymar, which would be an interesting
He'll be
match.
fine. He'll be alright.
Could see it in the Champions League final this year. You know.
I'd be very surprised. That sounds like something on career mode on FIFA.
It does, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised to see PSG reach it, but I'd be very.
Yeah.
Oh, I passionately hope PSG don't reach them.
Really?
Well, I mean, I just I know we've been drawn against them however many times in 4 years. It's three times in 4 years in the Champions League. But just as a team, I just don't really like their kind of attitude. They kind of espouse a certain type of behaviour on the pitch. Maybe in the past, the likes of Cavani, Di Maria, that type of it just doesn't.
It's like ego.
It doesn't wash well with me. If they won against us, or Chelsea, I in playing a different type of football, I'd probably be less teams can beat us. Fair enough. I'm not going to deny whether they've deserved to beat us or not. But having watched them closely in the past, it doesn't wash well with me the way they play as a team or the way they're set up as a club. So that's just my opinion on European success for them. Another week's gone by of European football. I don't know if you guys have had any more opinions on how your teams have done.
Well, Arsenal had a good 0-0 draw against Red Star Belgrade. So that was
It was
nice.
0-0.
Yeah.
Sorry, I hadn't kept up with it. I didn't realise it was.
Yeah, it was just
I thought it was a
boring game. I don't care about it in any way. So that's that.
Same for Liverpool. We won 3-0 against Maribor. We're not winning 3-0 against Maribor. There's problems in there. It's a regulation win.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all you have to say.
I think a lot of Premier League clubs would beat Maribor. I don't like that sort of team is in the Champions League.
But what can you do? You've got to make it
you've got
as
to have
egalitarian
that
as possible.
Yeah, and little European teams.
And that is the price. And occasionally you do get a team from a sort of lesser known country that does alright, but usually they are the sort of the minnows of the competition, aren't they?
Yeah.
Indeed. Well, on that note, we're going to draw this podcast to a close. So thank you very much for listening, as always. Subscribe to us on YouTube, and we'll give you weekly instalments of the podcast. Listen to our previous ones if you haven't already. But thank you very much to Evan for coming on today, and Alex as well. I've been Ollie. And listen out next week for the next Redbrick Sport podcast.